right now we're doing what we want to do with our lives, and that a person who can say, I like my job, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, there are not many, there are not too many. People always want to move on to something else.
Alright guys, it's time for a little sawmill update. I guess you could call these weekly shop updates. I'm going to try to start doing on the channel. But we'll just call them the sawmill update and leave them with that. Glasses are always fogging up. So what I've been doing here this week in the shop is pretty much cleaning this place up. If you recall one of my last videos being out here, I think it was the hand tool unboxing we done just a few weeks ago. This place was a disaster from a lot of past projects and me just being lazy not cleaning up after myself. So what I've been doing is reorganizing this shop and moving a lot of equipment around. Now what I did was this lumber rack was pushed up against the wall over here, which really made it aggravating to get my small pieces out of here. I'll show you guys in a minute what I'm talking about. This side of the lumber rack kind of has a little what you call this, some little cubby holes here for my short cutoff pieces and pieces that aren't 8 feet long. So I had that pushed against the wall, and I built this thing on casters, but it's extremely heavy. My idea was, whenever I was needing smaller pieces, I'd just pull it out from the wall and get it. Well, that really didn't turn out working so well for me. This thing is a really pain to move because it's so heavy. So what I did yesterday was I just relocated it to the middle of the shop floor here. And all the tools that I had in this area, which was my jointer, my dust collector, and my main tool chest here, I put those over here against the wall. Now the dimensions of this lumber rack, it's 8 feet long and it's 5 feet wide. And this side here, like I said earlier, pretty much just has some slots for small cut-off pieces. I got some poplar in here, cherry, and any kind of cut-off I have left over from whatever I'm building, I put in these little slots over here for easier access. And right above that, I've got a small rack right here for storing 8 foot long pieces or longer. It really doesn't matter how long they are, I can put them up here. I got some poplar up here and some ash and some walnut, but that is directly on top of that small little cubby hole area for the cutoffs. Now in the middle of the lumber rack here is a small opening that goes the total length of it, and I use that to slide a lot of timbers in. I got some mantle pieces in here and some pine on the bottom. And I like to hang my clamps right here on these braces going horizontally. The other side of the wood rack is pretty much more the same. The bottom is left open just to store some heavier timbers with. I put my 2x material down there and thicker. I got some 4x4 walnuts down there also. And this top layer here is pretty much for oak. This is nothing but quarter sawn white oak here on top. A little bit of flat sawn in there, but I use a lot of white oak and I like to have that around. It's finally warming up in here. I've got that fire going. Now, I got an email the other day from a guy named Ben. I believe his name was Ben. I get so many emails, I forget these guys' names emailing me. But regardless, he emailed me and asked me if I had any recommendations for literature like books and so forth on sawmilling. And there's only one book that really comes to mind when it comes to sawmilling, when you think about woodworking and trees and all that stuff. For me, there is. There's multiple books out there on sawmilling. There's a lot of different authors that wrote stuff about trees and how to harvest timber and urban logging, urban forestry and stuff like that. And I've read a bunch of those, but the best one I've ever read is a book by George Nakashima. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And let me grab it over here. So I hope this comes through the camera well, the cover here. I think it's the only book that this guy ever wrote. And he died in the early 90s, I think maybe 91 or something like that. I can't remember just right. But this book is called The Soul of a Tree. And if you're interested in it, I'll leave a link down in the description below for Amazon. That's where I got mine at. I've had mine for about 2 or 3 years. And George was a furniture maker. And I'll post some pictures up here of some of the furniture that he built. And once you see the style that he done, you'll probably be familiar with it because a lot of people have copied it since then. And in this book, George writes about the soul of a tree. Not only does he cover sawmilling trees, woodworking, going out and cutting trees down and the right ones to cut, but he really covers, in my opinion, the actual, the soul of the tree. I guess that's why it's called the soul of the tree. But he covers how the spirit of a tree should be captured. And he puts in here his thoughts and philosophy of forestry and timber. You know, in my opinion, this book here should come with every sawmill sold. I don't care if you're a timber king, wood-mizer, Norwood, or whoever you are manufacturing sawmills. You should include a copy of this book with every sawmill that you send out the door. But I tell you guys, I have read probably more about sawmilling and woodworking than I've actually practiced. I've studied it a whole lot. I've studied Roy Underhill and his thoughts on forestry, because a lot of people don't know this, but Roy's the woodworker on the PBS channel, but he's also got a degree in forestry, so he knows a lot about the trees also. He's not just a guy that uses these old tools. He understands the timber, and that's what I've tried to do when I do this whole process, is understand trees. Once again, no paid endorsement, but there's an Amazon link below if you're interested in this book. I highly recommend it if you're into this type of work or you're wanting to pursue sawmilling. This is the most important book that you'll ever read besides your owner's manual for your sawmill. What we're looking at here, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen this slab already. And for those of you who have Instagram, you can add me on there, Out of the Woods. There's a link in all my videos to that. I post a lot of stuff on Instagram that never makes it to YouTube. This is a maple slab here. It's got some spalting and some ambrosia in it both, and I'm going to make a small little side table out of it. And I've already flattened it with my hand planes. One thing I'm doing right here is taking a little bit of a twist I had in it out of it, and it'll be ready to go. And I didn't video that process, but I will probably video the rest of this build, in which I will take some oak and build the base for it and attach it. So that's what I'm doing right here at this maple. I'm going to keep on gnawing on this maple, and maybe in a few days here, in a week or so, I'll have a video come out on how we build the base for this. And tomorrow will be a sawmill video. I actually had the sawmill set up in the driveway right in front of the kiln. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm going to do something with the sawmill tomorrow. I'm not done on this channel yet, involving some kiln dried wood. So we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more sawmilling finally.